Welcome back to Zak Invest, where we make wealth creation dead simple for everyday people. I'm Zak, and today, we're diving into an explainer of one of the most incredible, fully verified financial mysteries out there. Seriously, this one is going to blow your mind. We're going to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that absolute financial freedom isn't just for Wall Street elites, it's literally accessible to anyone, period. Right off the bat, I want you to just take a second and picture a multimillionaire in your head. Got it? What do they look like? If you're like most of us, society has hardwired a very specific image into your brain. You're probably picturing, a tech billionaire in a minimalist black turtleneck, or maybe a flashy trader in a tailored suit hopping onto a private jet, or a guy revving a six-figure sports car. We are constantly sold this massive illusion that wealth has to be loud, that it's flashy, and it takes some high-stakes genius move to achieve. But the reality, true wealth is actually often completely invisible. To prove this to you, let me introduce the star of today's explainer. When this individual passed away, their official probate court records in Vermont revealed an estate valued at over $8 million. Let me repeat that, $8 million. And no, this isn't some wild internet rumor. This was entirely verified by the legal system and the actual financial advisors who handled the accounts. So, who was this financial mastermind? Who is this genius beating the smartest hedge funds at their own game?
He was a janitor. Yep, you heard me right. A man named Ronald Read, who spent his entire life working as a gas station attendant and a local janitor. Read was your classic unassuming, soft-spoken guy. He never made more than minimum wage. He drove a beat-up second-hand car. Honestly, he was so incredibly frugal he literally held his winter coat together with safety pins just so he didn't have to buy a new one. There's even a story where someone actually paid for his breakfast at Friendly's because looking at him, they just assumed he was homeless. Yet, this humble janitor quietly built a massive fortune that put corporate executives to shame. So how on earth did he do it? To figure out his secret, we first have to wrap our heads around a mathematical reality called compound growth. It's a concept so powerful, our human brains actually struggle to intuitively get it. Think of it like rolling a tiny snowball down a really long hill. Your money makes a little bit of money. Then that new money joins in and makes even more money. In those early years, the snowball is tiny. You're working hard, socking away your cash, and it honestly feels like absolutely nothing is happening. But give it a few decades, and that snowball gets so massive that it generates more wealth in a single year than it did in the first 20 combined. And that brings us to the ultimate wealth multiplier, time. To show you just how crazy time in the market really is, let's look at this classic financial example. Say you invest just $2,000 a year, starting at age 18, right up to age 25, and then you just stop. You never put in another dime. Well, by the time you hit 65, that account would actually be worth more than if you had started at age 25 and invested that exact same $2,000 every single year for 40 straight years. It's wild, right? Early, consistent saving absolutely crushes decades of delayed catch-up saving.
Now, let's look at how our guy Ronald Read used this with his pretty tiny income. His friends noted that Read managed to save nearly 80% of his earnings. Let that sink in for a second. He lived on practically nothing. Records show he was consistently investing roughly $300 a month at about an 8% average return. But here's the absolute kicker. He did this for over 65 years. He let that snowball roll for more than 6 decades and he never got in its way.
Okay, but saving alone doesn't magically turn into $8 million. You have to park that cash in the right vehicle. Read wasn't out there trying to pick the next crazy viral tech startup. No, he bought boring, massive, super profitable, household name blue chip companies. More specifically, he focused intensely on companies that paid dividends. If you're new to this, a dividend is basically just a company taking a slice of its profits and handing cold, hard cash directly back to its shareholders. And historical data completely backs up his strategy. Researchers looking at the market all the way from 1927 to 2014 found that dividend-paying stocks averaged a 10.4% annual growth rate, while the non-payers only hit about 8.5%. That roughly 2% gap? Over a lifetime, that is an absolute game changer.
And digging into research from O'Shaughnessy Asset Management gives us an even better clue. They studied the market from 1930 to 2011, and they found that focusing on a high dividend yield, which just means a strong actual cash payout compared to the stock's price, consistently beat the broader market by 1.4% annualized. On the flip side, chasing companies just because their dividend was growing actually underperformed the market by 2.1%. Read knew what he was doing. He focused on steady, ultra-reliable yield. He just wanted companies that kicked off consistent cash. But here's where the magic really happens. It's what he did with that cash. See, most average investors take a dividend payout, drop it straight into their checking account, and then go buy a liability, a new TV, a fancy dinner out, whatever. They act exactly like consumers. Ronald Read, though, he acted like an owner. He set up his account so every single dividend automatically bought more shares of that exact same company. His profits literally went to work to buy more assets, which then generated more profits to buy even more assets. It's brilliant. He was quietly capturing the profits of the entire global economy while he was sleeping. Here's the thing, though. Knowing the math is really only half the battle. Honestly, it's the easy half. Personal finance isn't just about spreadsheets. It is deeply, deeply behavioral. Have you ever noticed how people just love hearing that the sky is falling? If I sit here and tell you a stock is going to 10x, you're probably going to roll your eyes and assume I'm trying to scam you. But if I tell you the whole market is about to crash and you're going to lose everything, you'll probably clear your entire schedule to hear me out. As Morgan Housel points out in his book, The Psychology of Money, pessimism always sounds like someone trying to help you, but optimism just sounds like a cheap sales pitch. The financial news media knows this, and they feed on our addiction to panic. It keeps everyday investors incredibly anxious, constantly overtrading, and generating massive, endless fees for Wall Street.
Ronald Read completely tuned out that noise. Listen, your success as an investor is going to be largely determined by how you behave during the worst market crashes. Think back to late 2008 or early 2009. How you acted during those few months of absolute sheer terror probably impacted your lifetime returns way more than the entire decade before it. Market volatility, the fear, the stomach-dropping drops, these aren't penalties you should try to dodge. They are simply the fee, the price of admission to building massive long-term wealth. And through it all, Read never ever panic sold.
Wall Street is constantly obsessed with finding this mathematically perfect, coldly rational strategy. But humans, we're emotional creatures. True financial freedom really comes from aiming to just be mostly reasonable. You have to adopt a strategy that maximizes how well you sleep at night. Because if you can't stomach the crazy ups and downs of a certain portfolio, I guarantee you'll abandon it at the absolute worst possible time. Read found a perfectly reasonable, boringly steady strategy that let him sleep like a baby, no matter what the scary headlines were saying. This brings us to the absolute cornerstone of building real wealth. It's not about raw IQ, and it's definitely not about aggressive, super high-risk growth. It is 100% about just surviving long enough to see success. Let's break down the specific, totally disciplined behaviors that let Ronald Read stay in the game for over 65 years. Number 1, he strictly avoided bad debt. He lived through 14 different recessions, and he didn't panic sell a single time. He completely ignored every passing financial trend or hot new fad. And above all else, he maintained absolute monk-like patience. He never interrupted the compounding process. As the quote goes, survival gave him longevity, and longevity is what made compounding work wonders. Seriously, there is no reason to risk the money you actually have and need for money you don't have and frankly don't need. So many brilliant, quote-unquote, smart investors completely wipe themselves out because they take on way too much debt or they just chase too much risk. Read simply survived, which meant he was still sitting right there at the table when the biggest financial rewards were handed out decades later. One of my absolute favorite details about Read is that he kept physical paper stock certificates. Just think about that for a second. If he got scared and wanted to sell a stock in a panic, he couldn't just tap a shiny button on a smartphone like we do today. He literally had to go dig through his safe, find the physical piece of paper, drive down to his bank, and then drive over to his brokerage office. That friction, that super tedious, annoying process, was actually his greatest financial friend. It was the perfect shield against impulsive, emotional trading. Sometimes making it really annoying to access your own money is the best gift you can give your future self. So how do we actually apply this today? Let's get right into the actionable master plan. The good news? You don't even need to pick individual blue chip stocks like Read had to. Today, we have incredibly simple tools that let you own the entire global market for pennies. I'm talking about broad market index funds. Great examples are the SPDR S&P 500 ETF, ticker SPY, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, ticker VTI, or the Vanguard Total World Stock ETF, ticker VT. By buying just one of these, you instantly own a tiny slice of hundreds or even thousands of the greatest companies on planet Earth. It completely eliminates the risk of accidentally picking the wrong single stock. All right, here's your strict 3-step action plan to put this into motion. Step 1, ruthlessly eliminate friction by fully automating your investments. Set it up so money transfers automatically and make sure automatic dividend reinvestment is turned on. Take your human, flawed emotions completely out of the driver's seat. Step 2, become totally obsessed with minimizing your management fees. Do not pay some Wall Street guy 1 or 2% every single year for the illusion that they know what's going to happen. Use low-cost index funds. And step 3, shift your identity. Stop being just a consumer who hands their hard-earned cash over to massive corporations. Start acting like an owner who collects the profits from those massive corporations.
The story of Ronald Read completely shatters the toxic, get-rich-quick culture that is just everywhere on social media right now. The very next time you see some flashy guru online promising a secret, hidden shortcut to wealth, I want you to remember the janitor in the safety-pinned flannel shirt. True wealth is not loud. It is absolutely not flashy. True wealth is quiet, it is delightfully boring, and it is built on the totally unbreakable laws of simple mathematics and time. You don't need a massive six-figure salary, you just need discipline.
You have the exact blueprint now. You know the math, you understand the simple mechanics of dividends, you get the psychology of ignoring the media panic, and you have the exact framework to start today. The only thing left to figure out is whether you actually have the patience to see it all the way through. Are you going to keep acting like a consumer? Or are you finally going to step up and become an owner? Will you get out of your own way and just let the snowball roll? Think about it. Start building your wealth today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.